recording. Glenn, go for it.
Morning, everybody. Thank you for attending. This is this last of the year's LEPC meetings. And I will personally be glad when 2020 and 2021 are way, way, way in the mirror. These seem like they're wasted years to us. Is kind of the way it feels. Not a whole lot going on that I'm aware of as far as the LEPC is concerned. So don't be afraid to jump in and tell us. We have been, I feel, a little bit out of touch. Some of us went to the LEPC conference in September. Some of us didn't. I think it was a good conference. From there, I've just been kind of working with the hazmat team, trying to keep the boat afloat. And then the only other thing I've been doing is yet another Cameo class, because I've been taking the Tom and Carol's Cameo DM class, data management class, which is the new program. Which, if anybody hasn't looked at it, I would recommend that you take a look at the new Cameo DM programming, because they have done some pretty amazing things to it, and it has gotten substantially easier than it has been in the past. Anyway, having said that, I would say let's go ahead and move on, Dean.
All right, let me share the agenda real quickly here. So everybody see the agenda?
Yep.
Okay. So Glenn has called the meeting to order. Next order of business is approval of the September minutes. I did send those out. Anybody nobody sent me any corrections or anything that I recall. So if everybody's okay with it, let's have a motion and approve the minutes.
Mark Schumann will move to accept.
Thank you, Mark.
Stephanie Hackett, I will move to second that.
Excellent. Then I can declare that the September 2021 meeting minutes are approved.
Dean, just for the record, will you just confirm that we have a quorum from the board?
That's a good point. Let me check the chat real quickly. I'm going to stop sharing that for a second so I can get into the chat side. Or we can do a quick roll call. I don't know if we made the announcement since we started the meeting, so everyone on the meeting, if you would please sign in the chat, your name and organization, or if you're LEPC board.
If you got it there, I'd say go ahead and just do a roll call, and we'll do a verbal as well.
Got it. Give me 2 seconds on that. So Jeff McCarron, you were on before.
He's on now.
I'm on now.
Okay. Chris Laws, I saw you. Christine Balderston, I'm sorry. Christine, are you on? Maybe not. Marilyn Lasoya.
I'm on, Dean.
Okay. Gil Reyes.
Here.
Thank you. Glenn Grove, I know you're there. Katie Keefe.
Here.
Okay, that is a quorum.
Let me go put a dog.
All right, so, oh, here's Glenn back.
I'm back.
Okay, let's move on with the legislative and regulatory update. Probably a good time to hear from Fran on any regulatory updates.
You bet. Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing? Back. We at CISA have been busy over the last couple of months, and in the CFAS program, there's some important updates that I'm going to share this morning. The voluntary program, as I've been coaxing along in our meetings, has finally happened. We launched it last week, and so we are very proud to share that website with everyone. It was the website, I believe I sent out a link earlier in the month with the launch of the website. However, it actually happened last week. And what you'll see there when you go to the website are a bunch of resources that are available, as well as a request for services. So one of the product lines that I was involved with was the tabletop in a box exercises that are specifically focused at chemical facility types of exercises. And a part of that program is not only being able to download those products, which are HC compliant, and anyone who feels comfortable enough to just download the document and take it and run with it, that's great. But if you need assistance, our partner agency within CISA called CISA Exercises will actually provide one-on-one support. And in a lot of the briefings I've been doing, what I'm hearing is that folks are so far behind the curve on doing things like exercises. They're just not feeling like, even though they need to be able to do this, they really need assistance with it. So this is a great way to get that help. And it's all free, and it will meet the HC compliance requirements. So, as always, Dean, I'll be sending you the written updates, and you'll be able to capture all the links to everything I'm reporting on today and be able to share that with everyone. The other voluntary program that has launched in other regions but will be launching here in a couple of months is the Bomb Making Awareness Program, Operation Flashpoint. And this program is really targeted at our retail establishments that sell supplies that could be used to make a bomb. So think of our Home Depots, our Lowe's, our beauty supply stores. And what it does is our folks go out into the field and meet with the Home Depot and Lowe's and other types of retail establishments that sell these kinds of materials, and not just the chemicals, the components that would go along with the chemicals to be able to create a bomb. So think piping materials, electronics, and that kind of thing. And what we do is we provide an educational experience for them, very quick, almost a stand-up brief, so to speak. And we give them these great handouts that are pictures where they can see what types of materials would be suspicious if they're bought in combination by folks in their stores. And it's been very successful in the other regions that we have rolled this out in. And it's a partnership with the FBI. FBI came up with the idea. Our bomb making awareness program folks have rolled it out in a professional manner. So I'll keep you guys updated as that comes here to Region 8. We're thinking early spring, March, April timeframe for us to have those materials and be able to share them with you. On the threat side of the house, it's cyber threats. Honestly, this is not going away, and it's going to continue to escalate. And as a matter of fact, this morning, CISA and the FBI released another warning notice about ransomware and cyber threats during the holiday season. No big surprise. These big actors like to take advantage of us when we are least expecting it and when we are doing a lot of interactions online for purchases and that kind of thing. And being in the holiday spirit, oftentimes people let their guards down. So that advisory, that link to that advisory will be in the written updates that I'll send Dean, which he will include with the minutes and anything else he sends out after the meeting. But it's really about, the standard suggestions that we have to mitigate these kinds of threats, like having multi-factor authentication, strong passwords, reminding employees not to click on suspicious links and that kind of thing within the workplace, but as well as at home. Obviously they're targeting people across the board. And so it's really important for folks to remain vigilant during the holiday season. We also sent out last month a joint advisory with the FBI, EPA, and the National Security Agency on ongoing cyber threats, particularly ransomware targeted at water and wastewater facilities. This is a huge issue for all of us, not just because of the chemicals, but because it's a critical infrastructure, probably one of the biggest critical infrastructures and probably one of the biggest targets that we've seen as far as what the bad guys are going after with ransomware. And it's not necessarily the big, say, Denver waters that supply millions of people with water. They're going after the low-hanging fruit. Even here in my backyard, I may have mentioned this before, but Roxborough Water was targeted, and they were on manual processes for 3 months. They literally had to rebuild both their administrative databases as well as the SCADA systems that were driving their brand new water treatment facility. None of the water was impacted, as far as the ability for us to get the water, but it was a huge, huge impact to them operationally, having to rebuild those SCADA systems within the water treatment facility. So those are the big cyber risks that we worry about. The next big one that I wanted to talk about is our Chemical Security Summit. That is coming up, and I really encourage you guys to go ahead and register for that because, excuse me, it is going to be a huge, huge opportunity to learn. The first day, I'm just getting into the agenda here, on December 1st, we are going to have an excellent session on FBI case study on economic espionage in the chemical sector. And that's an FBI, oh, I'm sorry, that's Wednesday. The first day is going to highlight 3 big chemical security folks: Scott Wetchell from Dow Chemical, Matt Fridley from Brenntag, and Gary Davis from Air Liquide. And these are all Region 8 big players. And they do what we call a fireside chat every year, and they provide us an industry perspective on the threat landscape, and that's a must do. I highly encourage that, because these are people who have a lot of facilities and they have a lot of bandwidth to be able to maintain their security posture and tell us what they've been facing and share their lessons learned. That same day, the FBI is doing their chemical security threat briefing, which I never miss. It's always excellent. They go into pretty good detail on what the threat landscape looks like right now, particularly to the chemical security sector. And then we're going to also do on that first day the Voluntary Chemical Security Program overview. So you'll get a deep dive on the chemical security program in much more depth than I generally share with you guys. But those great resources are, they'll talk a little bit more detail about what we'll have to offer. In addition to what I've already briefed you on, there are some other resources coming down the road. Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, you
Yes.
froze for a minute, but you're good.
All right, yeah, I just saw the same thing happen here. In addition to what I've already briefed you on, there's going to be more access to our staff as far as one-on-one types of advisory missions going directly to facilities that request them. So that's going to be really, really cool. Then on the day 2, you're going to see the FBI come back again, doing a case study on economic espionage in the chemical sector, which I know that is going to be a great session. I wouldn't want to miss that. And some other physical cyber convergence briefings between the FBI, CISA, and our chemical partners. Big issue there. And the last day, you know, if you're at all interested in the exercise packages that you can download from the voluntary program and are thinking you might want to have some help with that, the CISA exercise folks, they are also doing a briefing on the 3rd day. The last one that I think you guys would be really interested in is the last session, which is the case study on disaster planning and preparedness. And that's going to feature the Louisiana Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, as well as industry reps to talk about their separate perspectives on that. So I really can't encourage you more. It's December 1st, 8th, and 15th. The sessions run from 9 in the morning to 1 in the afternoon, Mountain Time. And you can attend all or just the ones that you are interested in each day, and obviously free. And then lastly, I just wanted to offer my apologies for the fact that the Mile High Dice exercise did not run this year. It was going to be a training, really, not really an exercise on supply chain issues. But we had a serendipity of unfortunate circumstances 2 days before the actual event, where 2 of our main players, the SEP representative as well as the CFEB representative, both ended up with serious illnesses, and we had to actually shut it down. But more to come. We're having a meeting in December, and we're going to decide whether we're going to run it again or just plan for next year. So I will keep you guys posted on that. Any questions for me?
Fran, would you just very quickly, those are virtual meetings, not in person, correct, for the Chemical Summit? Is there a pre-registration requirement? And if so, do you know what the website is or the email address?
Yep, all that in the chat, and it's also in the notes that I'm going to be sending to Dean that he usually always forwards out, but I will get the links in there.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
And I will push those out after Fran sends them to me.
Yep. Now, and Dean, I'm going to also attach a copy of the preliminary agenda. We don't think it's really going to change. It's just sometimes the name of who's presenting is not in the particular slot because the agency hasn't provided that. They've committed to the presentation, but not the name. So I don't anticipate any changes really.
Okay, copy that. And that is okay to send out to, you know, kind of generally to the whole contact list.
Yep, everything that I send you is open source, ability to share to everyone.
Great, we'll do that. All right, other partner updates. If there are no questions for Fran, let me not jump in too fast. Okay, hearing nothing, let me share the agenda again. So partner updates, Adams County departments and employees and representatives.
Hi, Dean, this is Katie. Environmental Programs Division doesn't really have any updates to speak of.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, local agencies, any representatives from local agencies and OEMs and so forth that have an update?
Don't everybody speak at once.
Yeah. You're on mute if you were talking, all right, I'll move on to local chemical facilities. Any facilities represented that have any updates? Sounds like no. TriCounty Health.
Yes, good morning, everybody. This is Jeff McCarron from TriCounty Health. So just a few updates here on our end. So on October 26th, the Adams County Board of County Commissioners voted to withdraw from TriCounty Health Department no sooner than January 1st of 2023. So right now we're continuing open dialogue with Adams County on this transition, and we're working to clarify an operational timeline for the implementation of their departure from the current organizational structure. Right now we're maintaining service provided to Adams County through the end of 2022 at a minimum. We also continue to investigate the PFAS in the county in coordination with CDPHE. This project began in 2018 in and around the Commerce City area, and we worked with CDPHE over the summer to identify some other areas in the county where PFAS could be an issue. Some of these areas include areas around Bennett, Brighton, Johnson Auto Plaza, and some expanded areas of Commerce City. We sampled approximately 10 private wells in the fall, and we're continuing to await for results. So we're also working with a number of partners with the Love My Air program. So this program expands air quality monitoring by using low-cost, cutting-edge air pollution sensor technology equipped with solar, battery storage, and data connectivity. The air quality sensors will measure for a common pollutant, particulate matter, PM 2.5. The PM 2.5 is an extremely fine particle about 30 times smaller than a strand of hair that can lodge deep inside the lungs and cause severe health problems, including asthma and heart disease. This program aims to inform, educate, and create changes that will allow all of us to love our air again. Partners include Adams County, Adams 12 5-star schools, City of Northglenn, City of Thornton, Anythink Libraries, and Arapahoe Libraries. So I can put a link, if anyone's interested in more information about this, I can put the link into the chat. And also just a brief update on Suncor. One of our managers attended a meeting a couple nights ago, and just to summarize, it says that the air discharge and water discharge permits are up for review at Suncor. There's a 90-day public comment period, and there was a community Zoom meeting last night to explain some additions to the water discharge permits. So that's what I've got from the environmental health side of things. Lisa, what do you have?
Not too much for me. We just continue working with our partners within the county to administer vaccine and champion for vaccine uptake. And then, as Jeff said, you know, we still are, even though we are splitting from Adams County, we're still the public health authority within the county. So other than that, in the EPR realm, we're working on our after action report and working to update some of our annexes and attachments within the FEOP. So moving along. That's it for me.
Thank you, Lisa. And we appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing.
Thank you. Appreciate that comment.
State of Colorado, do we have any representatives from the state that have anything to report? Okay. Hearing nothing. EPA representatives. All right. Anyone else? Anybody we might have missed or stepped on, didn't get unmuted? You have an update for the LEPC, please go ahead. All right.
Hey, Dean, it's Lisa. I guess I would like to add that there is a special Board of Health meeting tonight with Adams and Arapahoe to discuss mask mandates. So, and I think Jeffco's having one today. So more to come on that.
All right. Looking forward to hearing about that. All right. I guess I'm up. Continuing business. Let me share a different screen here. And does everyone see my spill report screen?
Not
No.
yet.
No,
Nope.
You had it
No.
up for a minute and then it went away.
Let me. Okay. Let's try that again. Trying to do the full screen version of that,
yep, we got it.
There you go.
but it goes away when I do the full screen. Or do you see that now?
No, it's working now.
Okay, perfect. So moving right along into that. So this month we only had 4 spill reports. Actually, not just this month, since the last meeting. So on the 5th of October, and you can all kind of read along. I won't read all the details out to everybody, but the 5th of October, there was a bunch of drums of used motor oil and things left on the side of the road. That was cleaned up. On October 11th, police officer reported that somebody had gone through a car wash and was dumping out stormwater, I guess, that they had collected as part of some sort of an environmental cleanup. And so there's a case number on that. So that is an active investigation, or maybe that's resolved at this point. On the 22nd of October, there was a truck that was making a delivery, and they were basically leaking a tank of diesel when they pulled off of the property, and they cleaned that up with the kitty litter type of product. And then on the 8th of November, this one was basically somebody had reported that a company that washes out drums for recycling was just dumping that into groundwater storm drains and so forth. And so that is also being investigated. Does anyone have any updates on that? Does anyone have knowledge of that investigation?
Dean, when you say it's being investigated, do you know by whom?
Well, these are all part of the spill reports that I get from CDPHE. So they pass that on to whoever
Okay.
needs to do that, and that may be the investigation that they've noted this. And I don't know if there's no follow-up that's sent to me from these. So whether or not they were fined or just it got cleaned up, then.
So just so that you guys know, what would generally happen is CDPHE, if there was an investigation that went beyond their in-house stuff, that would be referred to the state attorney general's office. They have environmental crimes investigators as well, and that's where the prosecution would come, is from the state attorney general's office if there was a criminal investigation. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. On the right side of the screen, just kind of a recap of the year. So we had 53 spill reports this year, 4 since the last meeting on the screen there. My count, this isn't an official count, but I worked it out of Cameo, that there are 493 tier 2 facilities reporting in Adams County, and we didn't have any major incidents. And by that I mean anything with serious injury or evacuations or large scale type of incident. So we certainly did have some incidents and spills and so forth, but thankfully nothing huge. So let me see if I can get out of this screen. And I will stop sharing, go back to the. All right. So we should have the agenda back up.
Yes, you do.
Any
Yep.
old business? Anything continuing that we discussed before? Sounds like nothing serious. I did put in the new business, some planning for next year, and I put committee question mark. It's probably time to update the LEPC bylaws, and it wouldn't hurt to have a couple of people kind of take the lead on that. I'm available to help out with that, but just some of the things in it don't seem to be, real up to date, and wouldn't hurt. Do we need a motion or anything? Obviously, just create a committee, but I just want to bring that up and have some discussion on it.
I don't know. Ron, Sigmund, do you have any input on that as to how you think it needs to be done?
I don't know that we need to have a motion to form a committee. I think it's just a matter of bringing the project up for the LEPC, and the project being a revamp or an update of the bylaws for the LEPC, and then seeking out board members who would be willing to serve on that committee for a little while, just to review the bylaws and give input. I think Dean can help out with the administrative piece of that, but we just want to have a bigger, broader view than just Dean and myself in the OEM office. So that's kind of where we're at. And we can do a deeper dive into the current bylaws just to make sure, but I don't think we need a formal vote for that.
Yeah, I would certainly be willing to do it. I would encourage Gil to do it as the county commissioner's representative, because he's going to have their best interests in mind as well. Certainly any of the other members that would be willing to do it, I would say just check in with Dean and let him know you'd be interested, and we'll do it probably very informally initially, unless we see some major changes that need to be done.
Glenn, this is Gil Reyes. I have a question. In your bylaws, does this organization have to comply with Robert's Rules of Order?
I don't know that it's in the bylaws as such. Generally speaking, it's kind of a modified Robert's Rules of Order. And I know I don't think it's been adopted that we follow them specifically. And I think most of that has gone by the wayside with the virtual meetings. And that's a good question, because I don't know from a compliance standpoint where we need to be on that.
If it's not constricted by Robert's Rules of Order, a motion is not required. However, you may want to check in that, because if you are constricted by Robert's Rules of Order, then you would need a motion.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you. Like I said, I don't know that we are, but I will dig mine out and see what I can find.
Yeah, I don't recall specifically. I've read that the bylaws a few times, and I don't recall that being written in there, but I don't obviously have the whole thing memorized either. And then anything else, any other committees that anybody has suggestions for, I think we can bring up in January. And we will also have our board elections, re-elections, and so forth in January, just to give everybody a heads up. Does anyone have any other new business, any other topics of discussion you want to bring up?
Dean, this is Gil Reyes again. I have just a question for Fran. Does the FBI or CISA check with the farms out in Adams County? Because as the former assessor, I know that they have large tanks of ammonia fertilizer and nitrate fertilizers. Are those monitored as well?
Yes, so that's a great question. And as we speak, I am actually reviewing all of the Tier 2 submissions, which they will be required to submit, to ensure that they've either previously been contacted by one of our inspectors or myself, or potentially might need to be. So there are thresholds for different chemicals, depending on the chemical, whether or not we regulate them. Yeah, the ammonium nitrate in particular has been an area of deep concern that came back up and through the Congress through the Congress this last year. And what we're seeing is a big push to reinvigorate having that ammonium nitrate standard and program actually be finalized and move forward. And I do think this year you're going to see that. So not only will farmers and other locations where ammonium nitrate is stored be governed under the CFATS program, but there's going to be a cradle to grave type of a program where these folks that have over whatever the threshold is decided of ammonium nitrate, they will have to register with the program and account for the ammonium nitrate through the point of where they're receiving it at their facility to where it's being sent, so that we can get a better handle on where those things are tracked. Even regular ammonia, if you're referring to that as well, that is a chemical of interest for our program too. So when I go through the inventories in the tier 2 submits that have been sent to the state, I'm looking for that as well, and pesticides too. Those are the 3 biggies that we tend to see in the agricultural side of Colorado, and we do keep a close eye on that.
So there's a greater monitoring after the explosion in West Texas.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Last year it was the explosion that was in the Middle East that caught everybody's attention. There was a huge amount of ammonium nitrate stored illegally, and it was stored next to a facility that was storing fireworks, and the fireworks went off and took the ammonium nitrate with it. And so it got the attention of our Congress. We can push just so far when it comes to legislation. There has to be a political will within Congress to move forward on regulatory issues. We do see a change. Obviously this happens with changes of administration to move back towards a more regulatory atmosphere with these kinds of things. But it's a process. Anytime you're pushing legislation through, it could take months to years. However, I do think there's a political will, definitely with this administration, to see those kinds of programs reinvigorated.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Gil, I would just say, if you're talking to the BCC, be aware that there are some huge exceptions to all of that stuff for the ultimate end user of agricultural products. So the distributors, the storage people, the transportation people, they're all going to be governed by some of these things, but there are going to be some of the end users who will have the existing exemptions that they'll probably be trying to fly just under the limits on. So just be aware that when they start to look at some of these things, they may or may not be able to represent 100% of representation of what's in the county. Is that correct, Fran?
I understand that because I had family in the town of West where that huge explosion occurred. One of my relatives lived a mile away and suffered severe damage to their home. So the owners of that chemical company completely lied in their documents. In the state of Texas and the county of Hill County did not do a good job of monitoring that. So I'm just curious as to what's going on within Adams County.
Yeah, and you have every right to be concerned because the West Texas explosion really caught everybody's attention. Our exemptions have to do with the facilities that they don't sell, they only store for the purposes of applying it directly to their land and their crops. But that, when we're talking about those kinds of exemptions, those types of facilities or farms, ranches, generally aren't storing the amounts that we regulate. So the facilities that you're concerned about would not fly under our radar if they're reporting at all. The other thing that our chemical security inspectors do is if they're out on an inspection in an area for a facility and they notice something, a facility that they were not familiar with, they'll either check themselves or they'll call me and say, hey, is Western Ranch in Adams County, is that one of our facilities? Or can you check to see if they've reported to the state? Looks like they have a big propane tank, or looks like they have a big ammonium nitrate tank, or whatever their concern is, and we can double check it that way. We call those drive-bys. And occasionally we'll pick up one or two, but the vast majority of what we pick up are the tier 2 documents that are submitted to the state of Colorado, and then they share them with us so that we can do a cross-check and see if there's any facilities that should be reporting to us but have not yet reported to us.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think it's probably worth mentioning that this is one of the functions of the LEPC, is that local emergency planning committee. It's really kind of up to us to identify some of these and make sure that the proper planning is being done, either through the county office of emergency management or through whomever is doing the emergency response planning. There is a certain obligation that we have to do as far as working with some of this pre-planning, and I would encourage anybody, if they have facilities they're concerned about, to let us know through the Adams County Office of Emergency Management, or let me know through the LEPC, and we will certainly look into what kind of planning needs to go into it, or what kind of planning has been done to it, or whether or not there's a facility of concern that we need to perhaps change their reporting limits, because we, as an LEPC, can put them on a zero reporting quantity if we have to. I mean, so if they have to report any of these particular chemicals of concern, but that has to be done through the LEPC. We have the legal authority to do that. And I would just, again, encourage any of our members, any of our participants, if there's facilities that we're concerned about, we're not looking for ratting people out, but we would like to make sure that we don't miss anybody through omission.
And actually, Glenn, that's an excellent point. So really, the big safety issue is for the county residents, and you folks at the LEPC from a planning perspective. Of course, I'm concerned, from CFAT's regulatory perspective as well, from the security side of the house. But, probably the most efficient way to tackle this problem is, Gil, for example, if you know of a facility that you're not sure whether or not they've reported, to get a name and an address and share it with Dean, and he will check whether or not they've reported to the CDPHE and the fire department and the LEPC what their chemical inventory is. This way, then I'll get it secondarily, and so, and I'll just throw this out there, Dean, if something like that were to happen, and you got a notice of that, and you find out that the facility hasn't reported and they should have reported, if you could share that information with me, that would be awesome. And this way,
Absolutely.
one thing will cover a bunch of bases. But it is always concerning if they haven't reported and they should have, to Glenn's point, because they may be trying to evade regulation. And if they're evading regulation, they're probably also evading safety and security concerns as well.
And right at the bottom of the screen here, on the bottom of the agenda, the LEPC at adcogov.org would be a good place to do that kind of reporting. So that's our general LEPC mailbox. Any concerns, questions can all be directed to LEPC at adcogov.org.
And again, I would just add out to our member agencies. Initially, we would take a very soft-handed approach. This is not something that we're looking to do, criminal investigations or some. We take a very soft-handed approach to make sure that there's an educational and compliance opportunity for them to be able to say, yes, this is what we're doing, this is what we've got. And then if they become resistant, belligerent, or otherwise evasive, then we would take it up to the next step, but that's not where we start. So Dean, I want to take just a minute, a shout out to some people for the Adams Jeffco Hazmat Authority Board that I keep missing. Lisa Oliveto, Mark Schumann, Wayne Bellevue, who's no longer on this committee. And then I want to also shout out to Doug Hall, who's not on this committee, but Doug Hall is the chief of the Westminster Fire Department. He is the last of the authority's founding fathers, and he has announced his retirement, and he has announced his resignation from the Hazmat Authority Board. So the Hazmat Authority Board, we have plaques, thank you plaques for Lisa, Mark, Wayne, and Doug. I just have been remiss in getting them out there. And Lisa, I know I've talked to you a couple of times, and we just keep passing each other and not running into each other. But I have those, and just on behalf of the authority, on behalf of the Adams County LEPC, anybody out there listening, I would just greatly like to have this opportunity to thank you for all you have done. Some of you guys have been involved for years and years and years, and I certainly appreciate it. You've done a wonderful job for Adams County, the people of, and hazmat in general. We've had some really cutting edge programs within this county, and I like to continue to do that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Glenn. Yeah, thank you. I think you just called us old, but thank you anyway.
I'm there with you too. It says, you're only as old as you feel, or only as old as you'll admit to. So
It would really be nowhere without you, Glenn.
I wouldn't say that. Like I told Tina, I'm the third guy in the toboggan. My job is to get it moving, and once I do, get my head down and don't create drag.
Oh, you're good at it.
Thank you very much. All right, Dean, back to you.
Yes, sir. Are there any other additional announcements? Anything else for the good of the order? We made it to the end of 2021, so obviously Thanksgiving week, so happy Thanksgiving to all. And a reminder that the next LEPC meeting will be January 24th. Sorry, and that's an error. That would be 2022. I thought I corrected that. So I'll have to amend that, but next January, and the meeting invites will go out and so forth. But look for our next meeting in January.
And if there's anybody who's interested in being chair, vice chair, or secretary treasurer, don't be afraid to speak up. I'm sure we will probably all be put back in by acclamation if no one else speaks up. I don't know that anybody wants to quit. Katie, you don't get a choice. Chris, you don't get a choice. Anyway, I would just wish you all happy holidays, be safe, and we'll see you again next year. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Should we have a motion for adjournment?
Sure.
Sorry. I need to adjourn.
Theo Gonzalez, second.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Dean.